There's one particular statement I have heard more times than I can count from other white people. And that statement is anything along the line of, I'm one of the good ones. That can come in the form of, I'm not racist, and then tokenize whoever you want to tokenize, or I have no problem with black people, besides the obvious fact that, okay. And in almost all the cases I have witnessed that statement being told is when there are conversations with other white people that are like of the opinion that just because they didn't vote for any right-wing party or they have never used a racial slur, that they are not racist, right? And in most times they're like, oh, you should understand me, like in reference to me, you too are one of the good ones, are you not? So I thought, let me explain that so that you understand why that statement doesn't make any sense. First of all, one of the good ones by whose standard? Because if that comes from another white person, you have literally no business, no expertise to use any kind of social setting, social hierarchy, or whatever to determine who is a good one and who isn't. Because you and me, we don't feel the oppression from the bad ones. So how the fuck are you going to determine whether or not you're a good one? That's very much giving those vibes like, oh, I'm an ally. God. And then always the questions, are you not? No, I'm not. No, the fuck I'm not. One, I'm not an ally. I've said this. I've made videos about it. Don't get me wrong. If you are a black person, indigenous person, person of color, and you see me as an ally, that's okay. That's you. It's not my place to debate that with you because your feelings are valid, of course. However, this coming from another white person is more than critical, okay? Us being decent human beings and not discriminating people based on their ethnicity, their race, their nationality, their gender, their religion is like it's the bottom of the barrel, like it's the bare minimum, okay? So that is why I'm not an ally. I am not an ally. I'm just a decent human being that was fortunate enough of having been blessed, fuck it, you get the point, by the presence of amazing black people, particularly black women that took time and patience because God, I was a pain in the ass, okay? I will be the first person to pull up a Wikipedia article to tell you that, look, everybody can be racist. After all, I can be racist. My husband is black. I was one of those. Hands down. I was one of those. So luckily for me, I had amazing black people in my life that were like, man, Nicole, you sound like a fool. That's not all that. And I reacted like the typical white woman, right? Fragility. How would you call me racist? I'm in love with a black man. How would I be racist if I can, how? Right? So let's not do that. But the whole being one of the good ones. First of all, there are two layers to this. One is the personal layer and one is the systemic layer, okay? And on a personal level, you might genuinely, wholeheartedly have good intentions, are doing the work, are deconstructing, are unpacking your racism, are actively educating your environment, are giving room for black people, are giving credit for black people, are passing on opportunities that you are being handed to black people, are financially supporting black organizations. You might be doing all that, okay? All of that. And still, we can never do more than the bare minimum. We can't. Because we are so knee-deep in historical shit and racism that all these things are literally a drop on a hot stone. They do nothing. They might have a small impact, clearly, but on a greater scale, it doesn't do shit, okay? And if it did do anything, there wouldn't be various racists in power and an entire billionaire doing the Hitler salute on TV and people defending him. If deconstructing and educating would do anything, those people won't be so loud and proud about their racism. And that's on that. So like I said, me, for example, I would never, and I can sit down here and promise you heaven on earth and I will still turn my back and do otherwise because people are hypocritical. And white people are liars. Never you trust a white person. I'm white and I don't trust white people. So I can sit here and promise you anything and everything and do the opposite in real life. So I'm just going to, speaking from my mind, I would never, ever do anything intentionally to hurt black people, to be racist, to be in my feelings. Does that mean I don't do it? No. No, because claiming that would mean that I am free from racism, which I am not. No white person, no matter how educated you are, no matter how deconstructed and empathic you are, we will never be free from racism. It's impossible because we were raised into racism, believing into white superiority, believing into capitalism, racism, classism. The learning process never stops. Besides, just a side note, one of the most known white educators, Jane Elliott, just dropped the N-word multiple times just a couple of weeks ago and defended it in a room full of white people and was backed up for it. So you never trust white people, ever. So now that all this being said, on a personal level, you can do all the work. Hypothetically speaking, I could decide tomorrow morning that I'm fed up. I mean, I would never, and I'm not fed up. I have the time, okay? That's not the point. Technically, I could. Nobody would blame me. I mean, on a global scale, right? My people will hold me accountable, of course. But I could just close everything and anything. Never speak about racism ever again, and that will be it for me. Because systemically, I am on the side of the oppressor. Whether I want that or not is not up for debate. I was literally born with privilege just because of the way I look or the way I racially present. Either way. You cannot distance yourself from that, or you can't undo that by simply saying, hey, I'm not racist. I have no problem with black people because systemically, once you start crying and accuse any random black person around you, you'll be believed. And as long as that is the case, as long as white people generally get the benefit of the doubt, but black people are guilty until proven innocent, not innocent until proven guilty. Until then, every one of us will automatically fall in the system of racism. So if you don't want to be in that drawer, if you don't want to be put in that same category, you get your ass up and do something. And while doing something, be aware that with everything you're doing, you are just being a part of a revolution, or I wouldn't even call it a revolution, of correcting a system that has been in place for 600 years almost. So what we are doing in our lifetime is never going to be evident in our lifetime. This is something that is going to be shown at some point in history. Maybe our great-grandchildren will not even witness it. So you need to be aware that when you talk, you need to do that wholeheartedly and genuinely without expecting anything in return. Even if you expect a like, a view, a tap on the shoulder, you're wrong. You're wrong. You need to do that because you have the moral and human responsibility to speak up, because simply you do not want to be part of a system that oppresses people just because you are supposed to be given some type of benefits. Because at some point in history, one cracking ass bitch stood up and was like, hey, I think white people are superior. And everybody else was like, yeah, fine, let's do that. Nah. So to answer that question, no. Systemically, there are no good white people. Every single white person, no matter how trustworthy they seem, no matter how much you like their content, can flip at any time and be the end of any black person around them. Technically speaking, even their husbands, their wives, anybody. So one, never you trust white people without them proving themselves over and over and over again. And even at that, just be careful. Be careful. And all my fellow white people, you need to be okay with the fact that we will never ever be doing something that will be enough, because our people have been silent for way too long. So it's our turn to endure that. If you can't, then you're not there yet.